Hello and welcome to Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. My name is Karen Seltz and I am your host. So excited to talk about this topic about how to play big. What does it mean to play big? If you followed me at all, you know a little bit about my history. I suffered from clinical depression for quite a long time. I was an addict and I had very low self-esteem. I wanted to play safe and I would hide. And what that looked like for me, a lot of times was perfectionism. You know, it has to be perfect before I can put it out there. So I would procrastinate or I would do things over and over and finally give up. So most of the time I didn't even put anything out there because I was so afraid of criticism or rejection or that it wouldn't be good enough. And then by proxy, I wouldn't be good enough. And I was so concerned with what everybody else thought. And I think I was beating myself up worse. And I was criticizing myself in such a greater degree than anybody else was. So I don't know if you can relate to that, but it kept me stuck for a very long time. And I got super depressed. And I would judge other people that were doing what I wanted to do, like, especially if they were talking about things that I learned like 10 years ago. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're making money talking about that. That's so like base level, it's so below me. And I got into that comparison game, but they were the ones doing it. They were the ones on the field and I was judging them. So you could look at that either way. Like if people have judged you, have they been the ones playing or were they the ones that were wannabes like I was? I was sitting on the sidelines judging every single play and every single player that was actually on the field. And I wasn't willing to do it. I wasn't willing to risk anything. And I know it's not easy. And the things I'm going to suggest to you tonight will not be easy, but they're worth it. They are worth it. Because if you're anything like me, every time I thought about doing something and then said, oh, I can't, or what if this happens? What if that happens? And I talked myself out of it, I ended up shrinking and I got smaller and smaller and smaller. And then I would hide more and more. And I was more and more miserable. And I was so depressed. And if only I knew, right? But I didn't. I didn't know until I knew. And even when I did know, I wasn't willing to do the things because I was too scared until I was willing to do them. So what I'm going to suggest to you is take a breath, because there is this, I can't remember what you call these things, but there's a saying in A Course in Miracles, I need do nothing. It's also in this book called The Way of Mastery, which I love this book. I like it more than A Course in Miracles, but don't tell anyone. So I need do nothing. What does it mean? It means that I am 100% lovable no matter what I do. Like I can't do anything to prove to God or universe spirit that I'm more lovable, or to any person really. I am lovable. I have worth and value just because I exist, because I am a spark of the divine. You can't separate me from the divine. You can't separate yourself from the divine. You're one. You are absolutely one. And it's so beautiful. Recently, I had the opportunity to be in a healing meditation. And I was there for 5 hours in meditation with my eye shades on. I thought I had them nearby. I was going to grab them. They're amazing. With my eye shades on. So just me and God, really. I mean, I was with everyone and I was one with everyone. But what I witnessed, what I felt in my body, in my soul, in my consciousness was this unity with the divine and this connection between every one of us and the divine, and every one of us and each other, one another. So when you have these experiences like this, you can't unknow them. you just can't. Like, it's in my body. Like, I just know that I know that I know. And I don't recommend you go meditate for 5 hours. You don't need to do that. I just had this opportunity and I jumped on it. It was beautiful. I mean, you should see what I do with my spare time. I go to week-long meditation retreats where we meditate most of the day. And I pay for them, and I pay for accommodations to get there, and all the things. That's what I choose to do on my vacations. So I am, I don't know, different than some people and the same as others, right? In that respect, where I choose to place my attention, resources, energy. My point is that you can connect to the divine in 1 to 3 breaths. It is so simple. You set the intention. Okay, I like to close my eyes. I like to say this prayer because it really puts things into perspective for me. And I use it as a meditation. And I accept on the inhale, the love of God on the exhale. So I accept in my head, I don't say it out loud, the love of God. And if you don't even have to say that, but if your intention is to connect with the divine, you can just slow your breath down, go inside. You can place a hand on the heart and give God, universe, spirit, the divine, whatever you call it, permission to come in. And I like to say this, get me out of the way. Get me out of the way. Come on in. Come on in. Like, because everything I did up until that point wasn't working. So at some point, I got to have some humility and say, okay, all right, I don't got it. Take the wheel, God, take it, because I ain't got it. So I don't know what it's going to take for you, but for me, it took lots of banging my head against the wall, feeling like I couldn't even exist anymore, like I could not go on the way I was going on, the way I was living, the way I was not living, really. I was hiding, I was shrinking, I was becoming less and less of who I am and more identified with my body in so many ways. And the more now that I disinvest my attention from the body, the more I can concentrate and focus on God and the divine and serving humanity in a big way. When I was focused on, okay, I'm hungry, I need to work out 12 hours a day to look, like the standard, whatever it was. For me, it was getting validation for my looks, experiencing physical pleasure through the senses of all kinds. So you take that to mean whatever you want it to, because it's all, for me, it was running from my calling. So if I wasn't going to show up as a spokeswoman for God, I was going to go do the opposite. I was going to go eat and watch Netflix and whatever else I was doing to run from my calling. So what are you doing right now that is not in alignment with who you are here to be and who you are here to serve? So ask yourself these questions, because these are really important. So when we look at how we spend our time, that tells us exactly what our priorities are. And if we don't have the lives we want in any category, our career, our finances, our relationships, our health or body, our environment, our home, anything, recreation, fun, adventure, it could be any category. If we don't have what we want, we have exactly what we intend. I mean, it sucks to hear that, but it's so true. So whatever you are experiencing is what you are intending in your subconscious mind. So I'm not saying like you're saying, oh yes, I want my husband to beat me. Like, who would do that, right? And if that's what you have, there's something in your subconscious that says this is okay and this is what I deserve, or something like that. And I know that was an extreme example, and it's not your fault. And most of the time when we're in these the self-destructive patterns, we don't even know we're doing it. It's all below the level of consciousness, because as you may know, 95% of everything we think, feel, believe, and do is motivated by the subconscious mind, which means we're not at choice. We're not even aware we're doing it. We're like, why does this keep happening? I remember once I was in this relationship that was like, "Argh," and it was the most dramatic thing I had ever experienced. And I actually got addicted to chaos. And I never would have guessed that I would be that person to get addicted to chaos, but I was. And even when that relationship ended, I brought it into my next relationship. I'm like, wait, what do you mean you don't want to fight? What do you mean you don't want to break up and get back together? The guy was like, what is happening? Because he was normal. That one didn't last that long, right? Like, who's going to take that kind of behavior? And it took that breakup for me to wake up and say, oh my gosh, look what I was creating. I created all of that. It didn't need to be there. I made things big, tiny little things. I would make them explode just because I needed that hit, that adrenaline. So look for areas in your life where you're doing that. Where are you making things up that aren't there? Where are you creating meaning that's not there? And what are you doing it for? To distract you from your calling? That's what I did. Like, okay, I wanted to be a public speaker. That was always what I wanted to do. But I did no public speaking. So where did I speak? I created chaos and drama. I brought the drama that I was craving into relationships, romantic relationships, and that didn't work. So I invite you to just get quiet and ask God to come in and say, oh, come on in. Let's hang out. Let's hang out and have a conversation. So it's different for everybody. I like to have conversations with God. Sometimes I talk out loud, but a lot of times I hear better when I am writing my questions and then I write the answers that I hear. And I have full conversations with the divine. So sometimes Yeshua, who's Jesus, sometimes the Holy Spirit, sometimes it's different women that come in. So it's my guides, and we all have guides. We all have a team. And especially if you know you have a big calling, here's how you know. There's a lot of crap thrown at you. So you get close to figuring something out and then your life blows up in some way. That's one indicator that you have a really big calling. And if you've escaped danger a lot of times, like you're like, how did I not get hurt? Or how did I not die? You know you have a big support team. And you have a big support team if you have a big calling. So lean in. One day I got curious. I heard somebody say like, oh, my guides. I'm like, I bet I have guides. I've never inquired. So I just got quiet. I got in meditation and I got my notebook. I'm like, so do I have a team? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, well, who's here with me now? And so I channeled one, I don't even know what it is, like one being, or I don't know, named Serafina. And she was like a playful sister energy. And she was like encouraging me to stop taking life so seriously. Well, you can see she had an impact, right? Because I'm laughing all the time. And then there was one, it was like a maternal kind of goddess figure named Ophelia. And she gave me like massive downloads. Okay, this is what you're here for. This is what you're here to do. And it's a big calling. Are you up for it? And I'm like, yes, I'm up for it. So just ask, get quiet and ask, and start noticing your senses, because most of us don't see these beings, but we sense them, or we can hear them, or we can feel them in our bodies. Like we just know. It's kind of like if you know someone's looking at you and you look and then they turn away really fast, but you know they were looking. So it's kind of like that, like you sense it. So just start noticing. Withdraw your attention from all the stimuli. Put your phone down. Turn the TV off. Get quiet. Dr. Joe Dispenza uses darkness a lot. So a lot of his meditations, even his lectures, lectures, a lot of times he'll say, put your blindfolds on, which is interesting because you're withdrawing your attention from everything out here, all the distractions, so you can focus and concentrate. And you learn to see with your consciousness. You learn to sense. You learn to be in the darkness. You learn that there's an infinite amount of space in this universe and in our bodies. And I love this statistic that if you look at an atom under a microscope, I almost said microphone. Hello, atom. If you look at an atom under a microscope, it is 99.9999913 percent space and energy potential, and only 0.0000, 13 zeros or 12, 1% matter. So what do we focus on? We think we're solid. We're not. We're mostly space and energy. And when you get that, when you really, really get it, when you know it in your gut, I'm pressing on my gut here, can't see it, then you can influence that matter in the quantum really quickly, because you focus all your attention on the energy, and then matter just has to behave. It has to do what you say and what your body is emotionally programmed to. So I said a bunch of things, so let me just make it concise. When you're creating in the quantum, I don't know how I got here. I always end up here. When you're creating in the quantum, you use your thoughts, which takes awareness. Like, we're bringing everything up to that 5% consciousness level. We're digging in the basement. We're getting the stuff out of our subconscious mind. So we're noticing when we do things like create chaos or run from our calling. We're noticing it and we're like, oh, interesting, without judging or attaching. You're like, oh, interesting. And then you focus on what you do want. So I want to be, and I am, a channel for God. I am a visibility coach. I help people gain the courage and confidence to come out of their shells and just show up on video so their people can see them and find them and say, I am picking up what she's putting down. Yes, sister. Because otherwise, like, who will ever find them? There are these brilliant healers, coaches, and entrepreneurs that nobody knows exist because they're hiding. They're running from their calling, or they're just playing small, procrastinating, getting into the perfectionism thing and not doing anything besides maybe meditating or writing and not putting it out there. I mean, they're doing things, but not the things that will get their clients to know them, right? So I support them with the tools, the courage, the mindset, the spirituality. And I do all these fun neuroscience things to rewire their brains so that they actually have the courage and confidence to show up on video, to do the thing, because they're not doing it on their own and they're not going to. I mean, really, if something didn't change drastically in my life, I would have spent another 20 years hoping and wishing to be on camera or on the stage. But something happened. Actually, I did a lot of work. That's what happened. I was willing to risk and put myself out there and be imperfect and do it anyway. Be scared, do it anyway. I love the saying, do it scared. All right, so now I'm going back, circling around here, going back to creating in the quantum. So you have your thoughts. Your thought is like a radio signal. Yes, sound effects included. That send the signal out to the quantum. All right, this is what I want. So it's got to be positive. It's got to be like, thank you for this. Thank you that I already have it. And it can't be, I don't want. Positive means it can't have any negative words in it. So I am wealthy. I am wealthy. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the thought of wealth is a thought, right? It's a radio signal. The magnetic part that draws it to you is your emotional state. So when you are grateful, that means it's already happened. When someone gets you a gift that you really wanted, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you got this for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, in the 3D, the physical world that we can touch and see and smell and taste and perceive with our senses, we are Newtonians. Like we're used to not saying thank you until the thing happens. And then we get into these things like, I'll be happy if, I'll be happy when. And then that stuff never happens. It never occurs because we get to be grateful in advance. And that is the key to manifesting anything, right? We all have heard this. I'm not saying anything new, but are you practicing it? Do you wake up every day like grateful for the air on your face? I was listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza in this thing called Unlocked, and it's super personal. He's talking about when he was a young chiropractor in San Diego and he was doing a triathlon and he got hit by a semi truck in the bike portion and he was paralyzed and he was lying face down all day long. He couldn't move at all. They had him in some type of traction and he was face down. And I'm guessing he had like the chiropractic or the massage donut. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but that's what I see in my mind because he talks about reading. And if he's face down, how's he going to read unless he has like a face cradle? But he was talking about, really personal things. Like he had a choice to make. Like, what else was he going to do with this time? He's like, this is before cell phones. He's like, thank God. But he was reading and then he was like, okay, this is how he developed a model in his mind of how the mechanics of his body, his spine got to work. And this is what he was telling the divine to create. He's like, yes, thank you for creating this beautiful model and for my spine working like this. And he was talking about the gratitude. He's like, I promise when I get out of here, I will never take anything for granted. I will never take a sunset on the beach for granted. The shower. Like, can you imagine not showering for months? Like the water from the shower. And he just visualized it. And he was so happy just visualizing like walking on the beach or playing golf or taking a shower or even like going to the bathroom on your own. I mean, these are things that we don't even think about. But think if they were taken away, how grateful you would be if they came back. So we get to learn to be grateful for every single thing in advance too. So he was grateful for the showers and the sunsets and the times playing golf before they happened, and his body started to heal because he was envisioning and he was replaying it over and over. It's mental rehearsal, and it's giving your order to the divine, like, okay, this is what I want my life to look like. You create a clear, definite picture and you feel the emotions ahead of it occurring. It can't help but manifest. And how often are you doing that? How often are you practicing that as opposed to practicing complaining about what you don't have or what you don't like or what your spouse or partner didn't do or your kids didn't do or what they did do? And complaining is poison. It is absolutely poison for your brain and your body. Complaining. It's the absence of gratitude. It's the exact opposite of gratitude. So you want your body to heal? Go on a complaint fast for an entire week. No complaining for a week. And if you don't think you complain, charge yourself like I did. I talked about this last week, but we had a complaint jar in my house. And every time one of us would complain, we'd put 50 cents in it. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to have to put any money in. Yeah. When you start watching for it, you're going to notice, oh my gosh, I just complained. Like the line was long or there was traffic or it doesn't matter. It could be anything at all. Something so small that you think is just a fact is your perception, and it could be a complaint. So watch your mouth and watch your thoughts, because your thoughts become things. Yes, that's my soapbox for the quantum this week. So how do you create a spirit of courage? Well, I think the easiest way to do it is to get into a community of people that are growing. They're on a path. I personally love Dr. Joe Dispenza's community. So in order to get into it, you must go to an event, like a week-long advanced retreat. But there's plenty of communities that are positive and uplifting you can join. And when you're around those people, you don't want to be the one bringing the room down. you know those people that suck the energy out of a room. Don't be one of them. Seek, before you go anywhere, whether it's online or in person, seek to uplift, seek to put energy, positivity, love, joy into the room, because that's the truth of who you are. I don't care what you've been conditioned to. The truth of who you are is love, joy, passion, oneness, unity, divinity. That's who you are. You're not the complaints. You're not the little self, the little s self. That is not you. It is not. So don't be fooled by it. So be vigilant for what you want. Every day, set your intention. These are 3 ways of being that I'm going to show up in. I'm going to show up in gratitude. I'm going to show up in courage. I'm going to show up in generosity, passion, love. It could be anything. Any 3 positive attributes. Confidence. I like courage more than confidence. I've explained that before. But whatever it is that you feel like is your contribution to the world that day, keep saying it. I am generous. I am courageous. I am loving. I am passionate. I am joyful. I am optimistic. I am in service. I mean, you could do whatever. Just be. Focus on your being and go out and spread love and see what happens. It will come back to you, whatever you put out there. So if you're putting out negativity, guess what comes back, my friend? If you're angry or frustrated or irritated, guess how the world shows up for you? Angry, irritated, frustrated. Yeah, it doesn't need to be that way. And it just takes a decision, one decision in the morning. And then if you catch yourself going back to the old programming, you're like, it's okay. It's okay that you're angry. I got you. Now what? Let's choose again. Let's choose something else. And never, ever have a bad day. Don't tolerate having a bad day. That's bullshit. And it's a bullshit way to live. It doesn't have to be that way. You can have a bad moment. You can have 2 bad moments. 3, no. Develop a no tolerance for 3 bad moments. You're like, nope, not today. Not today. Today, I choose to be happy. In this moment, right now, this moment, I choose to be happy. I choose to be loving. I choose to be joyful. Whatever it is for you. Just make a choice. You're the only one that can choose for yourself. So choose well. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you want to pick up my free gift, which is 5 ways to boost your confidence on video, and it's specifically for healers, coaches, and entrepreneurs who have a calling, who've been shrinking and not putting themselves out there. It's on my website, which is KarenSeltz.com, just the same as my name. And just pick it up for free. I will see you next time here on Irresistible You. Thank you so much for watching.